Yo, what's up guys, and nice job on making it here to the free webinar. I'm super pumped to have you here. I'm gonna go over a quick taste of some of the value that's in the course, but right now I wanna make sure this just isn't some 5-hour webinar that's gonna bore you. So you'll see here at the bottom of the screen, I've got 1 to 2 progress bars showing the overall time left in the webinar and then the time left in this section. I'll have a lot more free content coming out for you guys on my YouTube and Instagram channels. So after this webinar and purchasing the course, make sure you go look up 30-day Drone Master Course on those sites and follow and subscribe to those accounts. Now quickly before we get too deep into the webinar, let me give you an outline of the webinar. Right now we're in the welcome intro section and I'll be finishing that up in just a moment by explaining who my course is made for and the 2 goals of this webinar. So with that said, here's the outline. Welcome and introduction. Afterwards, we're gonna do 5 mistakes that I see new drone pilots often make, and then 5 secrets to instantly level up your drone content. So this webinar has 2 goals. To convince you that in order to eventually get paying jobs or gigs with your drone, or if you're just a hobbyist and want to have better quality content and get more social media views, then you have to learn to make cinematic photos and videos. The second goal is to also convince you that the only way to learn how to take really good cinematic photos and videos and then put them into a professional looking portfolio is through my 30-day Drone Master Course. So who is this course made for? In short, everyone. Long answer, it's meant to keep in mind the person who is about to buy their first drone, just bought their first drone, or maybe has had their drone for a little while, but wants to take their knowledge, skills, and content quality to the next level. This means you can be 85 years old and the course still is meant for you. It also means you could be a middle school or high school student and the course still applies to you. So for some parts of this course, it might seem a bit basic at times. For others, it might be advanced and loaded with value. But enough of the salesmanship. Let's get to the webinar. So here are 5 mistakes I often see new drone pilots make. So if you're a beginner and you've made 1 or 2 of these mistakes, don't feel bad. I've made just about all of these mistakes at some point in my career as well. With that said, if you're making at least 3 or more of these mistakes right now,
stop it. Get some help.
First mistake I see a lot of new drone pilots make is trying to hand launch or hand land your drone too soon. First off, let's just take a second and think about this. How fast does an airplane propellers have to spin just to push enough air to lift 3 to 4 tons worth of metal in the air? Sure, a drone is a lot smaller, but it still weighs a pound or so, and the concepts are still the same. How fast, especially if it's an FPV drone, do you really think the propellers have to spin to keep the drone just to hover in the air, let alone fly around? Do you really want to risk sticking your fingers in there? I did once on accident and it cut me up pretty good. No, it didn't chop my finger off, but it wasn't a pleasant experience either, and it did draw a little bit of blood. So why risk it? There's also a time and a place for hand launching or hand landing. You should always try to launch your drone from a flat surface, and it's ideal to buy one of those little small landing pads for like $20 or so from Amazon. And you can find some recommendations of mine in my affiliate links section in the course or potentially in the description of this video. You and I should only use hand launching or landing when you can't use a flat surface, or if there's a certain material around on the ground that can get inside and ruin the drone. A great example of both of these situations at the same time would be filming at some place like a sand dune. If you don't have a launch pad to lay down on a flat surface, then the drone's just gonna kick up a ton of little sand particles when launching or landing that could get inside your drone through the cooling vents and then potentially destroy your drone. So if you're at your park or your backyard, just go find a sidewalk or a patio or use my link and go buy a launch pad and then put your drone down on it and launch from that just to be safe. Second mistake I see new drone pilots often make is skipping the first time flight manual or video that your drone and drone provider provides. And then they try to fly as high and as fast as you can. Now don't lie, I know just about all of you have probably done this when you got your first drone, and I did too. That's okay. This is a great way to crash your drone as a brand new pilot and end your career right away. It's super tempting, I know, and everyone wants to do it, but just don't. Trust me, it will save you some cash and other problems like trying to go find your drone after you crash it. A small secret for you. All the experts that I know of never took shortcuts. Sure that they had some training and coaching and courses, but that's not a shortcut. They still had to go take the time to go out and practice over and over and over again what they were learning, and it's the same thing with you and your drone. If you really want to get those smooth cinematic shots, then you have to go first, take the time to learn and master the basic fundamentals of flying your drone and getting used to being in the air. And yes, that means squares, circles, triangles, the basics or fundamentals of flying your drone. Third mistake I see a lot of new drone pilots make is they just try to show off to others around you and they're not being aware of your surroundings. Yeah, just don't be one of these kind of people. Nobody likes to show off. When you're flying, take your role of being a pilot seriously, just like a professional would, and then people will treat you like a professional. If you just treat your drone like it's some toy, then people will just see you as another person with another toy. Keep in mind you have a small aircraft going at high speeds, and if you hit someone or a structure, you can break a bone or a window, and the responsibility is all on you. So be aware before you take off who and what is around you, and then where the relation is to you. If it's your first flight or first couple flights or even your first month or two of flying, you should find a large open area to practice. Preferably a large flat open area like a stadium field or a church parking lot, or even better like a farmland, as long as you have permission from the farmer, of course. Fourth mistake I see new drone pilots often make is not being aware of your local drone laws or no-fly zones. You do not want to mess this up. The FAA, or Federal Aviation Administration, which is the government program over all things that fly in the USA, will not give you a second chance on this. It reads straight from their website about the penalties for just not even registering your drone. It says this, quote, generally the penalty for each violation ranges from $1,100 up to $27,500, depending on the provision violated and the category of the alleged violator, end quote. And that's just for not registering your drone. What happens if you find yourself in an airport or no-fly zone, even if you don't see the airport nearby, or a military training airspace that's active? In my course, I'm going to teach you what apps to have on your phone and how to use them to make sure that you aren't flying where you shouldn't be and not getting into some serious legal and financial problems. So the fifth mistake that I see a lot of new drone pilots make is also actually the first secret to instantly upgrading your drone quality content. And that is not getting a mentor, especially early on if you're trying to get ahead of competitors around you. Trust me from experience when I say this, I did the exact same thing you did, thinking it was just a load of junk with all these courses telling me that I had to buy and had to buy and had to buy. I thought, well, there'll always be Google, and if that fails, there's the all-knowing YouTube that I can go to. Here's the mistaken truth. You can use YouTube, but it's chaotic learning. Let me take a moment to explain that from my own experience. Learning with YouTube is chaotic because you get just the headlines, the surface level stuff, but not the deep, good learning that sets you apart from others. This is because as a beginner, you don't know what information it is that you need to know right now. You don't know what information it is that you don't know. So you just look up the quick top 10 tips, which isn't bad, but it's not a great start either because it won't set you apart from the millions of other people looking up the exact same tips. I also learned from experience that until I actually invested in myself and my drone business by getting a mentor through a paid course or two, that my work was just going to always be average like everyone else's. It wasn't until I bought a few filmmaking and drone courses that my quality of my content suddenly took off, and it was much easier to start getting views on social media and convincing others to pay me for my work. It also is what helped me stand out against everyone else, and everyone else around me could watch and see as my content got better. Also, what has allowed me to have the ability to make this course, where I'm starting up this course only because I've had 4 or 5 random people I don't know actually find me on the internet, come and ask me to teach them how they can get the same quality with their drone work. Now, most drone courses are going to be about $200 to $300, but that's because they've already finished building their courses, which means it might be outdated and it's just going to be expensive. The advantage to joining the 30-day Drone Master course right now is that it is brand new. So it's in its minimum value state, and that means it's going to be as cheap as it is because I'm still creating and uploading lessons and content to it. But what that means for you is that it's only going to get bigger and better, and it will have up-to-date information as it grows. It also means that you'll be able to actually help shape and form as it grows into the kind of course you want it to be for learning, which is why after this webinar, I'm offering you the course for an exclusive, limited time only, early bird launch price of just $25. Eventually, it's going to go up to $7,500, $200, $300, even more potentially. So now's your time to get into the course for lifetime access for just $25. The third secret to instantly leveling up your drone quality and content is mastering the flight controls. Just like the pro athletes can't skip leg day at the gym, you can't just make up for taking the time to go out and not just fly your drone, but to practice what you are learning and trying a new shot over and over and over and over and over again. That also includes mastering the basic flight and stick patterns before moving on to advanced ones. Circle, square, triangle, figure eights, and so on. Anyone can use the intelligent or pre-programmed flight modes, but they aren't always perfectly smooth. Having a professional touch where you've practiced and muscle memorized all the little micro movements in order to make that your shots smooth like a movie's will be what sets you apart and gets you those paying jobs. Secret number 4 to instantly leveling up your drone quality content is picking the right time of day to shoot, especially when starting out. Now, there are a couple of special times during the day and their names, and we'll go over that in the course. But you want to shoot at what's called golden hour, which is usually the last 1 to 2 hours before the sun sets, when everything has this nice yellowish gold tint look to it. And we can explain more about it in the course as well. It's not quite the same as in the morning or at dawn, but both hours are pretty decent and look very similar. Now, if you have to shoot during the middle of the day, there are ways to make it work, but it's not ideal and it doesn't really look natural. There's a lot more about this in the course as well. The 5th and final big secret to instantly leveling up your drone quality content, and I've saved what I think is the best for last, is the 3-question method. That is to know what, why, and how you are shooting something. You can't just point your camera at something and expect it to look good or cool just because you're up high. Bonus secret for you, number 6. It's not always about how high you can fly either. Sometimes it's about being medium or down low that can make it look really cool too. You need to always ask yourself, what are the 3 questions before you're just about to go flying? What is it I'm going to shoot? It has to have a subject. And no, you can't just be like, the trees or the grass are my subject. I mean, you have to have a specific subject. I want that tree. I want that boulder. I want that mountain or that statue, that building. And that's what I want my audience to focus on. Then you have to ask why. Why are you shooting it? Why that boulder or that statue? You have to ask, what is it that I'm trying to get across to my audience? What emotion or a specific message am I trying to make my audience feel or understand? In this case, let's take the boulder. And let's say we're trying to have the message or the emotion to make the boulder feel like it's lonely. Well, it happens to be located where it's surrounded by an open field. And that can help give a sense of loneliness or being singled out. So then we have to ask the 3rd question, which is how? How am I going to help show this loneliness or this being singled out? What particular camera angles or shot types could I use or am I going to use? Am I going to say push in to really close to try and help us see this boulder going through its suffering? Or would it maybe be better to pull back farther and pan the camera down to reveal all the empty land that we didn't see before around this boulder to help it really feel singled out and really lonely? And we can talk more about these different types of shots of angles and cameras in the course as well. But you need to ask, how does the how help me achieve the why I'm filming this boulder? And there you guys go. That's 5 mistakes to avoid and 5 secrets to instantly help you improve your drone quality. Again, we'll have a whole bunch more going into further detail about these and other tips and tricks and secrets in the course as well. I'm also still filming and uploading lessons to the course regularly. As mentioned earlier, we're still in the minimal viable state, but that's why I'm now offering you guys weekly live coaching and Q&A Zoom calls for a limited time and for a limited number of students who enter the course for just the $25 that it's at right now. So not only do you get into the course for a ridiculous one-time low price, have a lifetime subscription to the course, you're also gonna get live coaching calls where you can have some of your work critiqued and get feedback on how to improve, and access to future course content. You'll also be able to enter into our unique reward system we're going to be doing in the course, where you could possibly win a free drone as well as maybe other prizes that are smaller, or maybe even some 30-day master drone course merchandise. A whole lot more about that in the course as well. So check out the premium membership page and see what else it is we offer, and you'll be able to get access to. And again, compared to your other drone courses that are usually $200 or more, you have the chance to get all that and get into the course right now for just $25 and help shape the course to what you want it to be to learn. So this window is only going to last for a little while and for a little amount of people. So grab it now while you still can, and we'll see you guys in the course. Thanks.